Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. This weekend we've been spending time with this 2022 Lexus UX 250h. This is the entry-level SUV crossover from Lexus. It's kind of a car intended for either single people or couples with no kids. Don't mind Alyssa sitting in there. She's been on this trip with us and we've been spending time with this car together. This hybrid model is rocking a similar powertrain to that what you find in other smaller Toyota hybrids like the Prius. 2-liter engine, making about 181 horsepower, but it can do a lot of driving on electric only and really supplements the fuel economy. We've been getting about 40 miles per gallon with this thing. So we're gonna hop in the car and just kind of talk a little bit about what the UX provides and why you might want to buy it here in 2022. Quick shout out to Lexus for giving us this beautifully spec'd car. It's an F-Sport design, really pretty paint, kind of a nice luxury tan, if you will. And I like the rear bar as well with the light bar. This actually entirely lights up at night. Interestingly, no power lift gate, but I actually don't mind that. I like being able to lift it right up. You can see our very large carry-on suitcase does fit in here, and there's a little bit of underfloor storage as well. A little bit of a tall lift height for this sort of car. You gotta really heave things up there, but underneath it's probably got a little bit of a battery or something. What was interesting for us is we actually fit a lot of people in the back here, tall people as well, and we did some driving around and they managed to be comfortable. So despite it being a little bit of a tighter car, hi Liz.
Hi. We
were able to scoot the seats up just a little. I was still able to stay in my driving position and get people in here so you can see. Even if I get in at 5'10", I have knee room, I have a decent amount of seat recline. It's not the type of car you'd want to put people in regularly back here, adults or big rear-facing car seats or something, but it's nice to know that in a pinch or when you need it, you can comfortably fit 4 adults.
And this is set for your height still.
Yeah, this is totally set and ready to go, and you can see Alyssa is a shorter individual. There's quite a lot of room right there for all our stuff. Also, this beautiful red interior really goes a long way and kind of speaks to the wow factor of this car. This one is pretty much fully spec'd out at $42,000. The hybrid powertrain's getting you a little bit of that cost. And the F-Sport designs as well. All the interior trimmings, we've got heated seats, heated steering wheel, this big 10.2-inch Lexus Infotainment display, which is still running an older version of Lexus's Infotainment, so we don't have a touch screen. Everything's controlled by this little trackpad, and that does have a learning curve. When Alyssa and I first hopped into the car, the music was playing really loud, and we had to figure out how to turn it off really quickly, and the volume knob is actually right here, tucked in, and we could not find that. We were like, what's going on? So I beat the steering wheel down and turned it down. Yeah.
I actually wanted to, my instinct was like, these look like knobs, so I need to turn these.
Sure.
I didn't, no.
It was right here, but once you do learn that it's right here, it's actually kind of nice to be able to just easy with your hand in one position. You can change tracks, you can turn the volume up and down. It's a very comfortable place to operate that. It's just, again, a little bit of a learning curve. And the only thing that makes life with this trackpad difficult is actually Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Because you'll see if I plug in my CarPlay device here, it is wired, no wireless CarPlay or Android Auto. And once it does come up, you gotta kind of get around the cable. And you go over, and Apple CarPlay does work with the trackpad, but you can tell it's designed to be used with a touchscreen. It takes longer to do everything with a trackpad. It's certainly a secondary mode of operation, so that's a bit of a shame. It's operatable, it's just not something you'd want to, it's not a high point of the car, if you will. But you can see there, we get our navigation set, and we should be ready to go. There are 2 things that have really stuck out to me driving the UX. First of all, it's got a lot of wow factor for an entry-level car. A lot of times entry-level luxury vehicles are kind of just a cheap way for people to get the badge without necessarily getting a lot of the true benefits of having the brand. So BMW X1, Mercedes-Benz GLA, they're not bad cars, but you often get in them and you feel like, okay, I am getting a watered down version of these vehicles. I haven't experienced that with this Lexus UX. What's really come off both from my impressions, Alyssa's impressions, and the impressions of others whom we've seen throughout the week here, everybody's impressed by the appearance. They're impressed by the interior. We've been impressed with the ride quality and the quietness, the serenity of the interior.
Yeah.
And it just makes for a nice place to be, a car that you do feel like you're getting the entire Lexus experience without having to pay the higher prices, or more importantly to me, getting the larger vehicles of those other Lexus models. So even if your lifestyle does lend itself more to having a smaller car like this, you can still have that smaller car and get that experience, but still have nice Lexus amenities. I will say this one doesn't have a Mark Levinson audio system. It's got the 8-speaker upgrade. If you do want to see our review on that, check the links in the description. Actually, I did a separate review on that sound system as well. It's only fine. It's not magnificent by any means. It's not Lexus GX levels of Mark Levinson or anything, but I do think if you play around with the settings, you get a pretty good experience. One thing I do want to demonstrate real quick, this is the reason I'm coming back this way, is this car does get a little gimmicky when it comes to its sporting pretensions. So when you're just driving around in eco mode, it's a very honest car. It gets great fuel economy. We've been averaging 38.3, and that was actually a little bit higher before I shot the Winding Road review. But if you put it up into sport mode with this kind of cool dial right here, what's going to happen is I'm going to hit the gas. We're going to get up at a very leisurely pace, up to speed. And because this is a CVT, a continuously variable transmission, there are no gears. But the car is going to simulate and make artificial shifting sounds as though we were in a video game, even though the revs are sitting right there at about 5,400. So watch. So those are all very clearly coming out of those speakers up there. And it sounds really silly. It does. It almost sounds like we're driving a motorcycle or something, even though you look down at the gauge and that's not what's happening. It's just accelerating very smoothly. So I get why manufacturers do that. I get why they want to try to let consumers have their cake and eat it too. But for me, it's just a car that doesn't really have any actual sporting pretension. It should be honest by that. I'll go back into sport mode here. We'll use this very fake paddle shifters, which again don't really do anything. I mean, they put the revs up, but these aren't real gears. So right there, it made a shifting sound even though I didn't shift. I mean, don't get me wrong, the chassis is fine. It can kind of hustle around. It can drive quickly, but the hybrid batteries, the very soft suspension, this isn't a car that anyone's going to get in and feel like, ooh, I should drive this car quickly. I should drive it like a sports car. So for me personally, I would appreciate if they just kind of laid off that whole fake sporting thing. I mean, even though this is the sport after all. I mean, what do you think? If you owned this car, would that bother you? Would you ever use sport mode? What do you think?
Well, I don't drive sporty at all, ever. So I might never even use sport mode. I don't like things that are not genuine. So
yeah.
Yeah, and I would feel like I was lying to myself and everyone else, you know? So
yeah, I agree. I could definitely see how there are people, I'm sure they've done market research and everything, that show that, oh, people like that. I know some people who might enjoy it, but it is almost comical how fake that is when you really get on it hard.
Yeah, when you pointed out just there, I did realize, you know, cut this out.
Okay. Even when you're in normal mode and you get up into this little power indicator, you do get some degree, listen, of kind of fake artificial sound. But I like how if you go into eco, there's none of that. It's actually a very quiet driving experience in eco mode. So I've just been driving it around like that because I want the car to just be calm, cool, quiet. Maverick. So I do think Lexus is really trying to bump up the experience that you get with this car. And other than some of those silly fakeness is, if you will, the fake sound, it does provide a lot, and I think a lot more than a lot of cars in this class offer, especially for one that's really so old. The UX has been out like this for a while now, and it's probably due for some sort of upgrade. But in the meantime, you've got all the things you really need. You do have CarPlay and Android Auto. You've got your heated seats, which can even be auto, which is kind of nice. In fact, we've got 2-stage heated steering wheel, which I like. You've got things like automatic windshield wipers, automatic headlights, and high beams. Very nice leather. I've always liked Lexus's leather. It feels really premium. I could see someone, a young professional, and I know this sounds a little bit cliche, but I really could, somebody who maybe lives in more of an urban type environment, wants to get the good fuel economy with the hybrid, because let's be honest, if you live in more of a Midwest type of area, you're not going to quite see the fuel economy benefits of a hybrid versus just saving your money and getting the gas motor. But doing a lot of stop and go, we've been in a lot of traffic on this trip, and we've really seen the fuel economy benefits of the hybrid powertrain. And yeah, someone who doesn't need to be putting a bunch of junk in their trunk, a bunch of kids in the back seat or anything, and wanting a car that does kind of stand out and is still a little bit of a newer-ish model that even some of my family who works for Toyota, or at least tangentially, like our family members of those who work at Toyota, they were like, what's that car that you have?
Yeah.
They're like, obviously they know it's a Lexus, but they're like, what model is it and everything. So it does still turn heads, it does still get attention, and at a lower price point and a lower vehicle size, I think that's kind of impressive. The other thing is, we have just been able to drive it and let it sort of fade into the background. I'm one who feels not everyone buys a vehicle for it to be their primary focus. I mean, yes, us car type people, I want my car to be a center point of my lifestyle. I want it to be something that every time I get behind the wheel, I am excited to be doing that car. I drive to drive, not just drive to carry out other aspects of my life. But I know that there are many people, probably the majority of people in the world, that a car is simply just a means of transportation, and they want it to be comfortable and they want it to be safe and functional. But at the end of the day, they don't want to have to think about it while they're driving. And I think that this does a pretty good job at it. There's no plug-in hybrid aspect, there's no charging. You just get in, you hit the power button, you put it into gear with this big old classic shifter, and you drive. You get good fuel economy, you don't have to try at it. It's comfortable, it's quiet, it's a very easy seating position, power adjusted steering column, which I really like getting at this price point. I appreciate Lexus doing that. I've even got a head-up display showing me my speed limit, my speed, the compass, big old screen up here. So it really does autonomate and ease a lot of daily operation with a vehicle. So I think the UX does get forgotten about in this class, at least from a driver's car standpoint. And yeah, if you're a real driver's car sort of person, you probably want to get a BMW X1 over this. But I can see a lot of people wanting the reliability and the wow factor that this car provides that not many cars in this class do. I think it's more impressive than the offerings from Audi or the offerings from Mercedes. So we're going to throw some fuel in this thing, and we're going to get back to the airport, get ourselves back into the freezing tundra that is the state of Michigan. I know we've got some fun cars waiting for us back there, but thank you all so much for watching. If you are interested in a UX and you have some questions for us, hit us up in the comments. We're happy to answer everything that we can or get you the answers that you need. If you do want to see a little bit more on this car, check out our Winding Road day drive. Like I said, we did a little bit of a POV test drive on this. And you can check out our sound system test if you want to see a little bit more on that. But yeah, good trip in the UX. I've been happy to drive it. So thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one. For Charlie and Alyssa with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.